I'm going to do the Goth Tag, because I was tagged by both Beth, I Twisted Your Stitches, and by Jula for the Winter. So I figured I'd better do one. The first question is, how long have you been a goth? And it's kind of interesting for the timing, because it would have been in 1993-94, probably after, yeah, it might have been after Christmas. So we might be very closely approaching 20 years of my being a goth. How are you introduced to the goth culture? I think I might have gone into this on a different video, but I had a friend on my floor in the dorm at college, and one day he invited me over to his dorm room and put some music in, and it was just amazing. I'd never heard anything like it before, and it really seemed like the kind of thing that I wanted to experience more of. It was Sisters of Mercy. Floodland was the first goth music I ever heard. Number 3, what Gothic subculture would you place yourself into? I hate the types. I hate the idea of them. The only use I see for them in any way, shape, or form is a kind of a collective ideal or label for fashion. And by that I mean, like, last night I dressed cyber goth. Tomorrow night I'm thinking about going more romantic goth. That's it. They were never originally proposed as subcultures in and of themselves. And I think to treat them like that really creates barriers between goths that don't need to be there. Well, I've turned this question into a rant. I apologize. Number 4, what would you consider to be the basics of the goth culture? Most people have answered this kind of by giving their definition of goth. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is list 5 different things that I have noticed about the goth culture. Things that I have seen as universal interests, or things that goths do, as defining characteristics. So it's not my definition, I'm just mentioning the aspects that I've seen from every goth that I've ever known. First is a social departure from the mainstream. I've never known anyone who is actually a part of the mainstream who was able to pull off being a goth. That's just kind of an innate part of it. An aspect of morbidity, an appreciation for and an expression of the macabre, those things dealing with death. Embracing darkness. Now, this could be either dressing in black, but not limited to that, because it could also be understood as darker moods, which many of us are well familiar with, or dark humor, different aspect of that darkness that is embraced by goths. A sense of mystery, madness, or the arcane, the supernatural. That's something that we kind of get from Gothic literature, and we've kind of added to it with a lot of the madness aspect that I mentioned. Not that we're all crazy or anything like that, just that we do often tend to bring in elements of madness to the other aspects of goth that we enjoy. And finally, an active attempt to make these things a part of one's life, a part of the environment one dwells within, whether that be our room, our entire house, just a vehicle, or just the clothes that we wear. I don't know any goths who don't actively seek that out and in some way, shape, or form try to make it a part of their lives, because quite frankly we enjoy it. Why wouldn't we want to make that part of something we experience every day? Also, I have an upcoming video. I'm not sure when it'll be complete. It might take me some time to finish it, but it will go into those aspects quite a bit deeper. So. Number 5, what do you dislike about being goth? I don't dislike anything about being goth, but that's not quite what the question's suggesting. I usually would bring up people who have an erroneous idea of what goth is. However, more and more these days I'm finding that more as an opportunity to possibly educate than just something that pisses me off and to hell with it. I'm not so sure this is something that I hate so much as it's just a pet peeve of mine. It really, really grates on me when people call it the goth subculture, because it's become so much more than that. We deserve to call it a culture, full-fledged culture, because that's what we've become. What do your parents think about being goth? Is question number 6. After 20 years, my parents don't know that I'm goth. They obviously caught on that I like black clothes, and that's usually what I'd wear. In fact, one Christmas, probably about 6 years ago or so, my mother swore that she would never again buy me black clothes. And while she hasn't, this year for Christmas I got a box with 4 items that she found super on sale. Gigantic gum lips, which I think are very Rocky Horror Picture Show. I don't know if my mom would ever have thought of that, but a black, I'm not sure if there are designs on it or something, but it's a square tablecloth, an accent that says Wicked. I think it glows too, I'm not sure. And some orange pumpkin tinsel. So she got these, of course, on sale after Halloween, and that was one of my Christmas gifts, was this box of these 4 things. So I don't know that my parents even know what a goth is. I don't know if they've ever even heard the term. I have no idea if they think I am one. That's just not something that's ever really come up. Had they known when I was getting into it, my mother probably would have assumed that I was joining a cult, and she would have been frantic about the whole thing. My father probably would have threatened to remove my lips if he ever saw me wearing lipstick. And other than that, I think he probably just would have tried to ignore it and pretend that it wasn't actually happening. Now, my parents have gotten old enough, and I mean, I'm almost 40, so it would be weird for them to try to tell me to stop or anything. But really, when it comes down to it, is I know that it would cause them to worry. They would worry about me. They would worry that I might be missing opportunities in my life that I would have open to me if I wasn't different or apart from the mainstream. And that's something that concerns them. And it wouldn't benefit me for them to know. So I've never told my parents. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Some people have suggested that they don't really know me, and that's something that I should try to make happen. At this point, it just really wouldn't help anything, and it would only cause pain. So, my parents don't know. Eyebrows or no eyebrows? Obviously, I have my eyebrows. There are some people that can really, really rock that and just own the no eyebrow thing. But I don't think there are nearly as many who can as those who think they can. So take that as you will. What is your favorite band? That really depends on my mood. I haven't been too quiet about letting people know that I really quite enjoy dubstep sometimes, or more classic rock. Sometimes I listen to a lot of folk music, sometimes folk metal, sometimes pirate metal, all of those. But again, this is the Goth Tag, so within the Gothic perspective, I would have to say Angels of Liberty, Merciful Nuns, Fields of the Nephilim. I would not be able to choose between them if a stranger's life was on the line. If it were a friend's life on the line, I'd lie and just pick one, but it wouldn't be honestly my favorite band. What is your opinion about Marilyn Manson? I became a Marilyn Manson fan when Smells Like Children came out. The first Marilyn Manson I ever heard was Sweet Dreams. A friend of mine kind of joyously drugged me away from whatever I was doing to her dorm room, sat me down, and without saying a word just turned it on, and it was, of course I knew the Eurythmics version, and it was just really pretty awesome. And so then of course I had to whiz this, and wow, that's amazing. Listen to the rest of the album. It was kind of weird, but I really liked it. It was good timing. In high school, I never had any kind of rebellion at all. I was very much a loner. And once I got to college, then that started. So it was a very appropriate time for me to discover Marilyn Manson and really get into it. I continue to be an enthusiastic fan of Marilyn Manson all the way through the golden age of grotesque. I've gone... You're making a lot of noise, kitty cat. I've been to 2 Marilyn Manson concerts, 2 Rob Zombie concerts, and those are the only bands that I've been to more than one concert of a band. So, obviously, I have liked Marilyn Manson quite a bit. After Golden Age of Grotesque, I thought the music kind of went to shit, and I went through the most recent album once. It sounded pretty good, like it was kind of getting back to the styles that I appreciated, but I haven't listened to the album beyond that one time, so I guess maybe I've been distracted or something. I believe the band is shock rock, nothing more, nothing less. I don't think the band's ever really made like a concerted declaration of being goth. I really don't consider the "It's a Goth" thing on the grill of the Tainted Love video as really being them claiming to be goth. Aside from that, I've never heard anyone in the band claiming that they're goth. I do believe that Marilyn Manson, the performer, the individual, I think he is. And that's going on his poetry, his artwork, his paintings, his interest in absinthe, and a lot of the things that I have found that he has enjoyed reading and watching and partaking in and whatnot. I think there's enough there that I could fairly safely say that he himself is a Gothic personality. So, there you go. Number 10, what were your baby bat days like? Not sure what part of them this is supposed to be asking about. I almost always had my nails painted black or silver or dark blue. I had a couple other colors, but I didn't wear those nearly as often as those 3. The only other makeup, or the only makeup I wore really was eyeliner, sometimes black lipstick, but I didn't do any white or anything like that. Mainly because I didn't want to keep affording more of it. I was a starving college kid at the time, so I just kind of took what I could get. I at one point in time, I did a semi-permanent dye on my hair to black. At a different point in time, let's see, what was it? It was, I think now, The Manic Panic color is called Deadly Nightshade. I don't think it was called that before, but it's kind of a purple. It's not really fuchsia. It's darker than that, but it's not purple. I don't know. So anyway, I had my hair dyed, but it looked really awful because I still had a goatee that was not dyed at all, and so it looked pretty ridiculous, of course. But that's, you know, it's when we're starting, that's kind of what we do. I wore my leather jacket a lot more. I never once wore a band t-shirt. I often use chains as accents. I'd wear some chains as a belt sometimes, or I'd wrap them around my hand and my wrist. I also had epaulets on my leather jacket, and I had a chain going between the epaulets. There wasn't really a scene of any kind around here. So aside from hanging out in each other's rooms, listening to Typo Negative or Sisters of Mercy, there wasn't a whole lot else to do. Occasionally we would goth out, as we'd call it, and go to the mall, but unlike what you might be assuming, when we were there, we did everything that we possibly could that we thought at the time would surprise people or would be unexpected for people dressed like we were dressed. We'd hold doors open for the elderly. We would pick up garbage and things like that. So that's pretty much all there really was to do. And we also did take a lot of walks, regardless of season except for the dead of winter. But we would walk around a lot. And there were a few times when the cops stopped us. We had been reported as suspicious looking people, but it never came to any problematic kind of anything. So that's all 10, and I have quite a few people that I want to tag for this. Davy Dark Angel, Emma Grace Kohler Davis. Now, I don't have your YouTube channel yet, because you just announced that you're going to make one. So I'm giving you something to do here. Fright Summers, Leah Lemouris. I even went to a page on the internet that supposedly gave me the pronunciation of that. Lemouris? I don't know. Anyway, Leah, you know. You. Liz Crepuscular Creature. Haven't had a video out of you for a while, so we need one. Rezitrana, if this is fancy enough for you. Celican K. And my goth daughters, Lady X Skull and Shadow X Brit. And finally, Rory Michaela. Why hasn't somebody tagged you in this yet? So there you go.